Hello, this is Dipanjan from Frisco Meditation. Yesterday in my class, we were talking about what is yoga. So this was the topic of discussion. And it was funny as it is, we only had 5 minutes to talk about it, which was gross injustice to the topic of yoga, because yoga is such a deep ocean, right? And there's so much to talk about. Now, what is yoga essentially? The way it's been explained in the ancient Indian scriptures from where yoga actually originated is that yoga is a science that step by step reveals our connection with the cosmic consciousness, right? It says that it is not something you are achieving, it's already there. The connection of an individual human being with the cosmic consciousness is already there. You just have to recognize it. We have forgotten it, we have to recognize it again. So that's what yoga is all about. Another way of looking at it is yoga is a science that takes us step by step into a journey and reveals who we actually are. Right? Now, what does that mean? That means we obviously know that we have changed a lot from when we were born to what we are now. Right? There's the cells in our body. None of these were there when we were born. And the cells change themselves every 3 to 4 weeks. All the cells in our body change. So that's there. If you look at your mind, the kind of thoughts you had 5-10 years back, or maybe even this morning, are not the thoughts that you have right now. The emotions and feelings you had, right? The beliefs you had. So everything in us is changing all the time. So then who we are really, right? So that's the other thing to look at. So yoga could also be looked at as a science that takes us step by step into the journey of self-understanding, right? Or self-knowledge, you might say. That's what the whole science of yoga is about. Now, if that's too much of a tall order for you, you're like, I am not in the game of figuring out who I am. That's fine. That's perfectly okay. Does it mean that yoga doesn't appeal to you or does it not relevant for you? No. As you move on this journey of transformation, there are steps, right? Yoga takes you from step A to step B to step C to step D. There are steps on the way, and this could be very relevant even if you do not want to go all the way. There are milestones on the path, and that could be very relevant for you. And what are those milestones? My personal view is that the first milestone is for us to be deeply relaxed. And I did not realize till I did my first yoga course from a teacher what is the meaning of relaxation. And maybe you don't realize it today as well, right? You maybe go for a gym, you go for a run, you go for something else. Maybe you do even yoga asanas, but that is not the relaxation I'm talking about. True relaxation is when you get into a meditative state and you consciously get into a state where all your thoughts, all the chatter in the mind, the emotions, your memory, all the little things that are going on all the time in the mind, you could disassociate yourself from that. And you are resting, right, at the same time. It's different from sleep, because what happens in sleep is you're also gone, right? You wake up and you think you got deep rest, but the difference is when you're consciously resting, all your thoughts, all your baggage, your emotions, everything that you think you are, and everything that constant chatter in the mind, we identify deeply with it. We think that there is no other way. That's how it is. I am the one who is talking to myself. But when you start in a practice of meditation, and when you do your first really deep meditation, you realize that it is not that. It is not that way. You thought you were your thoughts. You thought you were your emotions. And there is no other way than having this dialogue all the time. When you do a true practice of yoga, and when you relax consciously, you realize that you could differentiate yourself from all of those thoughts and emotions, right? So that is step number one. You first relax, right? Forget about what you want to achieve. Learn this relaxation, deep relaxation technique through a form of meditation, right? And we'll talk about what meditations are possible. The second step really is what I just talked about, which is establish that difference between your thoughts and your emotions and your feelings, your concepts, your beliefs, all of that. Put it in the back, right? All of those are there and you are there. They're not the same thing. And this is not theory, this is possible. This is experientially possible. So that to me is really step number 2. Can you establish that difference between what you call yourself and what you call your thoughts, your beliefs, your emotions, everything, right? So that is step number 2. Step number 3 is, if you are interested, then you must go a step further and look a little deeper into what is that me that is aware of all of my thoughts and emotions, and then that's the little mystical space that it starts getting into, right? What does it mean? Who am I, right? And from there, I think the territory becomes a little mystical, so I will not talk about it. But let's just look at these first 2 milestones, right? Relaxing deeply, we talk about that. And we also talked about this milestone, the second milestone, where you are experientially in your everyday life, right? You are realizing this, that you are not your thoughts and emotions. Just imagine how tremendously powerful that is, right? All of us suffer from so much fear, stress, anxiety, worry, right? All of these things, so much so that some of us are not able to sleep, we're not able to be productive at work because it's always that fear, that worry, that stress is bothering us. If we are able to establish that differentiation, that distance between my thoughts and me, then I have so much more power. I can decide what I want to do with my mind. The mind becomes a tool, and that is tremendous power. Doesn't matter where you are in your life, and doesn't matter what you want to do with it. You want to improve your relationship, you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to be more productive at work, you want to climb Mount Everest, whatever that is, this is possible, right? So that really is the potential for yoga, and that applies to all of us. Thank you and namaste, and we'll be in touch from Frisco Meditation.